Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for asking my boyfriend to keep his hands out of his pants? When I moved in with my boyfriend, 24M, this year, I noticed that he has a nasty habit that has been slowly driving me insane. He has to be touching his genitals all the time. He'll have his hand down his pants while we're watching TV on the couch. He'll have his hands down his pants while he brushes his teeth. He'll be standing in the living room holding a full conversation with me, all the while juggling his giblets. I dismissed it for a while as a simple quirk, but my irritation has been building over time, and now I'm at my wit's end. I don't understand it. I'll never understand it. He says they don't itch and that it's just a comfort thing, but to me it's disgusting. I'm sure every inch of our apartment is covered in a thin layer of ball sweat. You're supposed to wash your hands every time you take a piss, but flopping it around in your pants 10 minutes later is no big deal. He'll reach up and touch my face after, for God's sake. Recently, I've started to call him out when I catch him doing it, which is typically twice a day. It's just a simple get your hands out of there, or would you mind washing your hands? But honestly, I feel like a mother trying to train her toddler. It's exhausting. I'm really worried that I'm just being controlling, because despite it being gross, it's probably not directly impacting me at all. He is otherwise a wonderful partner and a fairly sanitary person, and he deserves to be comfortable in his own home, but at the same time, I just don't think this is normal. I can't imagine sitting with my fingers up my vagina for comfort in front of my partner. Am I the a-hole for trying to get him to stop? Is this just a guy thing that I have to learn to be okay with? NTA. Gross. This is basically adult thumbsucking but with pubes. I get that having your junk gently cradled must be comfortable, but there is a time when a comfort activity that makes others uncomfortable needs to be put aside for other comforting things, like better, more supportive undies or a few good pairs of long johns or something other than fingerprinting his fuzzy luggage all day. NTA, this is really weird. What happens if guests come over? Has he made an attempt to change this at all? No a-holes here. Shout out to my husband. No a-holes here. Let's be real. It probably isn't affecting anything. If it bugs you, that's fine. It's a little weird, but I doubt it's unhygienic if he's keeping himself clean. If he was touching his belt, you probably wouldn't care, right? What's the first thing you touch after taking a shit, and how many times does someone wash a belt? The penis thief is in town. He has to protect himself. The banana grabber. NTA. I grab my boobs and sometimes cup my vulva as a comfort thing, or distractedly scratch over my nipple, over clothes, except sometimes with boob clutching. I don't do it around people and during conversation. Even with sexual partners, there is a difference between a comfort soothing thing and a habit. Doing it all the time is a habit. Occasionally in certain spaces and certain times is a comfort thing. I'm not out here on the bus with a handful of titty because I'm anxious, or clutching my junk during breakfast. He really ought to examine his habitual ball fondling and not do it so consistently and inappropriately. Oh, how the demographics of Reddit have changed. I remember 7 years ago the threads about habits you have, and everyone, I mean everyone, talking about resting their hands on your genitals. It's not a guy thing either. Plenty of women grope their boobs and hold their vagina too. You said yourself that it makes no difference in your life. You're letting something that is not affecting you bother you so much you want to go out of your way to exert control over him just because you can't quell your neuroticism. If you're already thinking of yourself as a mother and him a child, you're setting yourself up for failure. Your attitude and mannerisms only magnify as the decades go on. Making yourself a self-appointed nitpicking mother is just as exhausting as being treated like a dirty child that can't take care of themselves. Even if he trains himself to view you and show comfort around you like he does house guests, which is not good. BTW, he'll still be doing it when you're not around and you'll be covered in ball sweat, which just, come on. If you can't come up with an answer for why you don't like something other than just because, well, it's never too late to embrace the serenity prayer. Am I the a-hole for disowning my brother for abandoning a girl after getting her pregnant? Throw away because some of my friends know my Reddit account and I want to keep this as private as possible. Sorry if the answer seems obvious, but I've had so much backlash I'm starting to question myself. I am female 25. My brother is male 22. He lives with me since he moved out of our parents' house. Reasons are irrelevant. I came home to find him with his buddies in my home, getting wasted. I was pissed because he never asked if he could have people over. I'm an adult OP. I can do what I want. Apparently he and his friends were throwing a bullet dodge party. He had been seeing this girl for a bit. She texted him letting him know that she was pregnant, but planning to abort the baby. She asked if he could financially help her pay for the operation. He blocked her. I was horrified. Apparently he and his brilliant friends decided that she had lied about taking birth control, because it's impossible for women to get pregnant if they're on the pill. Right. I was livid. I was completely disgusted not only by their ignorance towards birth control and safe sex, but by the fact that he would block a girl and leave her completely on her own to handle a problem that he was at least 50% responsible for. I told him, in these exact words, pack your shit and get the duck out. Obviously more than this has happened in the past, but this was my breaking point. I had tried so hard to bend over backwards for my baby brother, house him when he was homeless, help him get a job, give him rides, only for him to turn out like that? Nope. So anyways, he and his friends stood there like they didn't think I was serious. I said again, all of you get the duck out. I don't want to see any of you here again. Here's where I'm possibly the a-hole. I told him in no uncertain terms that he needed to collect his things and leave. If he was old enough to make big boy decisions, he was old enough to find a place on his own. He straight up said no. So I lost my temper. I grabbed as much of his stuff as I could, crammed it into a suitcase, and put through the suitcase outside. I shouted that if he didn't leave I would call the police. Fast forward tears and begging. He was finally out. That night I got several messages that I was heartless for making him homeless. The pregnancy wasn't his fault because 1. It was an accident. 2. They weren't a serious couple so he has no reason to help her. 3. She should have been more careful. I called bull and said I would never allow someone with that sick mindset live under my roof. I said that he is not my brother and I don't want anything to do with him. My parents, my aunts, and some cousins are with me, but that leaves about 3/4 of the family against me. They think that I should support him because he is my brother. I should have given him time. He's not on the lease BTW, and he was supposed to pay rent but often didn't, and the punishment just didn't fit the crime. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? NTA, I am so on board with this. If my own son acted this way I would have done exactly what you did. I support this so ducking hard. Agreed 100%. My sons know I wouldn't tolerate that. He needs to grow the hell up and learn to take responsibility for his actions. I don't know why kids his age are so damned entitled and think they don't need to have any accountability. Good on OP for laying down the law. Her house, her rules. NTA, this girl wasn't trying to hurt your brother. She was on the pill. Mistakes happen, and she fell in that 1.0% of girls that get pregnant on the pill. Furthermore, she was being responsible in that she decided to abort rather than hold your immature brother responsible, and all she was asking was for him to pay half. $300 for a single procedure versus 20 years of child support. Your brother could have just ducking paid it and gave her the modicum of respect anyone would for another human being. Instead he cut her out of his life and threw a party over it. I am floored you were so patient with him. If my parents caught wind of me doing something like that I'd be shitting teeth. You are not the a-hole. OP. Anyone who celebrates abandoning a woman to abort their child alone is the worst type of human. NTA. He sounds like a piece of work who needs a massive attitude adjustment and who needs to learn how to take responsibility for his actions. Based on your post, you've tried to help your brother for a while. OP, you don't need to keep trying if he's going to behave the way he's behaving. You've done your part as his sibling to offer support and he crossed your boundaries. You don't owe him anything at all. Take some time to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. And know you did what you could at this time. Am I the a-hole for donating my kids' Christmas presents? Edit. I appreciate everyone's feedback. Definitely wasn't expecting that level of hate. I will just donate the gifts without the letter, and ask for them to gift experiences instead. A little background. My kids are incredibly spoiled when it comes to Christmas. We don't have a huge family, but tend to get a ton of presents from relatives. For the past few years we've asked them to stop giving presents. We've suggested a few other ideas such as putting money into a savings account for the kids. But every year the kids still get a ton of presents. We are trying to cut back on presents because most of them are cheap plastic crap that will just end up in a landfill when my kids get bored. It also takes the meaning out of the gifts they get when there are 40 plus presents to unwrap. So this year we are doing 4 presents for each kid. So once again I get 6 packages delivered today filled with tons of plastic toys from Amazon. This is after asking family once again not to buy toys. I told my husband I'm going to send a letter to them saying thank you for the gifts. The kids and I have decided to donate them to Toys for Tots this year since they have so many toys already. I am fed up with family disrespecting our decisions and going against our wishes. Am I the a-hole? ITA for the letter, but NTA for donating. I've quietly donated many excess gifts over the years with no problems. Yes, you're fed up for them not heeding your request, but the letter takes it too far. Save that battle for something else. ITA, you are planning on lying to family to spite them for not following your wishes. You and the kids didn't decide to donate the toys. You are already deciding this without their input. The gifts are not even yours to give away. They are your children's. If you want to teach them, then help them decide what toys they have currently that are still in good shape that can be donated before Christmas. Help your kids understand not all children have the same access to toys. But don't steal their toys and lie about. Family members put time and effort into their choices. The spoiled one here is you. You aren't getting your way, so you'll do what you have to get your way. Work with your kids throughout the year donating toys and clothes they outgrow. As Christmas comes next year, maybe they'll be the ones asking family to get a toy for a needy kid instead. But yes, ITA and a Grinch who is literally trying to steal Christmas. ITA, the donation is good, but why not donate old toys? I saw this elf on the shelf where the elf instructions the kids to donate their old toys in order to receive new ones. NTA, this is such a generous way to approach this. This helps teach your children that Christmas isn't about materialistic things or how many gifts they receive. You're a kind soul. And if your family gets upset at you donating them to children in need, then they are definitely the a-hole. You're making some children enjoy the holiday. The world needs more people like you. NTA, I feel like all of these people don't have parents who try to take over as parents and go crazy with gifts. I grew up poor, so I very much struggle with people who spoil like crazy. You've asked them multiple times to stop and they refuse. So they're basically ignoring your wishes. The par 3 NT. I don't think it is a big deal to thank them and then donate. Letting them you donate sends the message. I'd personally not include it in the note. I just wouldn't say anything. Yeah, I know a lot of people are going with you're the a-hole, but I totally get where you are coming from. If you have expressed your desire for less stuff and they are not listening, then it is actually a wonderful thing that you are passing it along to someone who might really enjoy it and make their holiday season. For you it is just more stuff, and the families you are passing it to, it may be the only present they get this year. NTA. Oh, and alternatively you could request experience gifts or donations to charity of the gifter's choosing, in the kids' names. Kids need to be taught that the spirit of the season is giving to others, not racking up the presents. Personally, I think our culture has lost sight of that and Christmas has just become a money grab. Also, does nobody get that plastic is killing our world, and by buying kids plastic crap that is just going into our oceans, we are slowly killing our kids' future. It is the opposite of a gift in my book. It is a total lack of foresight and care for the next generation, and it is couched in I'm doing something nice for them. I'm really surprised at these answers. My judgment is NTA at all. Gifts donation is great, and the note is just reiterating what you've asked your relatives to do multiple times. Your kids seem well taken care of in the gift department, so nothing to worry about there. I think people are projecting here. Holy duck. Going against the grain here hard, but NTA. You are well within your rights to refuse gifts if you have stated multiple times you didn't want them. I find it massively disrespectful that they would ignore your parenting wishes like that. Kids don't need crates of shit plastic toys they'll forget about in 3 days. It teaches them to be materialistic, wasteful, and tells your family that they can walk all over you. Go ahead and donate. NTA, unlike a lot of others, you asked them to stop and they aren't listening. Your kids wouldn't notice the difference. It's not like these are thoughtful gifts by the sound of it either. Just click and send. Am I the a-hole for pretending to get fired when customers get a temper with me? I am a high schooler with a weekend job at a coffee shop. My co-workers who work weekends are James, the owner's son. He goes to my school. He's a shift manager, but it's not a real formal thing. He's a friendly guy. Danielle, a college student who sometimes works weekends too. So sometimes customers will come in and just be angry about such little stuff. Like literally blow up about nothing. I don't know if they're in a bad mood already and looking for someone to take it out on or what. But it's a lot. Like how sad do you have to be a grown-ass man taking your anger out on high school and college kids? So James and I were joking about having a little fun with them and hopefully getting them off our backs. So one day I was at work and some guy was having a temper about how we don't make the coffee hot enough. Which I couldn't do a thing about because I gave it to him right out of the machine. So James came in and was like, so is there a problem here? And the guy started ranting at him too. So he was just like, OP, this is unacceptable. You're fired. I started acting real sad. Like, no, please don't fire me. My family needs the money. I need this job. Please. And he played up being a hard ass, telling me to take off my apron and leave. The angry guy started to backtrack. Like it isn't that big of a problem. You don't need to fire her over it. I didn't mean it. And James was like, no. We pride ourselves on the best customer service. Of course, after all that drama I still had my job. We were just acting. And we've done it a couple times. Whenever a customer will lose their temper at Danielle or I, James will storm in and fire us. And almost every time, the person who had come in angry will apologize and say that they didn't mean it. It's kind of satisfying, making people realize their actions might actually have consequences. Anyway, I was telling my friends from school about this and a few of them thought it was a mean prank. To let someone go away thinking they'd gotten someone who desperately needs the money fired. Am I the a-hole for this joke? NTA, I think it's hilarious and maybe it'll teach some people a lesson about controlling their a-holery. NTA, customers can be ducking dongs. Usually people are pretty respectful and reasonable, even when they have a legit complaint. But every now and then there's the one guy or gal that comes in and just can't be made happy. They're the worst. I've taken the approach of killing with kindness and being sarcastically polite. Oh, okay sir, I can microwave your coffee for you. Would you like 2 minutes or 5? It's fun. Usually pisses them off more, but they can't do anything because you're not saying anything wrong. I'm curious how the customer acts when they come in the next day following week and you're still behind the counter. This kind of reminds me of a video on YouTube where a teen, goes to a barber for a haircut, and I can't remember what the prank was, but his intention was to prank the barber with some kind of shock reaction prank. Well, someone had told the barber about what the kid had planned, so the barber had his own prank planned. When the kid did his prank, the barber faked a heart attack and died right there on the barber shop floor. It was hilarious. I know this isn't the same thing as OP post, but for some reason it made me remember it. Everyone sucks here. The customers are obviously a-holes for being a-holes for no good reason. Yes, you are a little bit of an a-hole. Is it justified? Absolutely. Are you still an a-hole? Yes. Unfortunately, in a customer service role, you are always going to have to deal with people who are angry over absolutely nothing. It is part of the job. Is it fair? No. In a perfect world, those customers would not exist. But we live in reality, and that is part of the reality, especially of that job. Is this a good idea? I know if I see a manager or lead fire an employee in public, I would think less of the business and management, and likely get my coffee elsewhere. You may be indirectly costing the business by doing so. May not be a big deal to you, but to the owners of a small business it can do harm. NTA, that's hilarious, and puts shitty customers in their place. Bro, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content. It's free and that's a great price.